You ever feel like you're just waiting for a sign? To do that thing you've always meant to do.
Goodbye Volcano High is kind of a confusing mess of a narrative experience that somehow manages to feel both padded for time and too long. But it isn't completely bad. In fact, the tragic part is that it has a lot of potential to be something great. So what the hell happened? Well, the head writer was a woman named Kate Gray, who also wrote a Kotaku article making fun of bad erotic SFM videos. You know, those porn parodies that seem to have a better animation budget than this entire game did. It was the most tone-deaf thing possible also because they decided to include images of the videos they were discussing, some of which happen to feature Harry Potter characters who are notably underage.
You can't do that! Yeah. That's fucked up!
Shit. I just wanted to talk about dinosaurs. I don't know how this happened. I can't find any information as to whether she was fired or decided to step away from the project to avoid associating the game with her own controversy, but either way, the remaining developers now had to rewrite the entire script, on top of having to work remotely because of the pandemic, so no wonder the pacing is awkward. It was supposed to be released in 2021 and it ended up being pushed back to 2023. 4chan actually managed to beat them to the punch with the release of the parody title Snoot Game, named for the dinosaur characters' uncanny long snoots. That game is a whole other can of worms, and it's getting its own video, don't worry. So what is Goodbye Volcano High about? Well, first of all, if you want the story to make sense and flow relatively smoothly, you need to have autoplay turned on in your settings. Otherwise, the game will bug out and skip entire lines of dialogue. Oh, what's that? You're a Let's Player and you want to advance the dialogue with buttons so you have time to interject?
That's too damn bad!
The main character, Fang, is a non-binary high school senior with big dreams about being a rock star. Though their presentation is pretty feminine and their pronouns don't really get addressed much, so it's possible to play the entire game without noticing this detail. They're writing a song and we actually get to pick the lyrics. Don't get too used to your choices mattering though, because many won't. In my opinion, the default lyrics fit better thematically. They never climbed, they never fell. The world is ending before anyone in the main cast gets to fail or succeed at anything they have planned. Of course, it would be much easier to take these themes seriously if the main character wasn't so goofy looking. It's like if the lead singer from Evanescence fused with a dolphin. The rhythm segments are pretty decent, though your performance doesn't matter. You can fail every button and the story will play out exactly the same. Fang sends the song to a woman named LJ, who manages a battle of the band's competition. Their brother Nasser comes to offer them a ride to school, and Fang proceeds to act like a jerk for no apparent reason.
I'm getting ready for life.
Very funny. Me too, by the way.
They meet Trish outside the school, and we quickly learn that Trish's main personality trait is her obsession with bugs. She's very excited about her new pet velvet worm named Mango.
She's my new pet / precious baby angel. I love her the most forever.
So of course Fang has the choice to be openly disgusted by it.
Oh no. Wow.
Trish spent all summer at entomology camp, and Fang is only just now finding out about it. These characters are supposed to be best friends, and neither one of them knew what the other was doing over summer break. Odd. Fang heads into class and we meet Reed.
I have big band news.
Ooh, what is it?
But band talk is delayed because Reed loves Legends and Lore, L&L for short.
Check out my new quests?
Quests?
It's this world's version of Dungeons and Dragons. If lazy anachronisms bother you, this entire story's setting will bother you, heads up. There isn't really any world building, they just kind of took our planet exactly as it is and made everyone be dinosaurs. Now, I don't expect them to go full-on Tolkien and create an entire fictional history and language system, but this is supposed to be Pangea before Continental Drift, yet anime, spaghetti, smartphones, football, Twitter, video games, and D&D all exist. It kind of breaks immersion a little bit. Though they wisely don't allude to any type of modern religion existing, so for better or worse, there's no Raptor Jesus, no Triceratops Buddha, or Stegosaur Muhammad to think about.
Hey, Reed!
Miss Roberts starts class. She seems like a standard mean teacher character, though confusingly she respects Fang's preferred name and pronouns, which is something that their own parents don't even do. We get to create a logo for Fang's band, Worm Drama. This is pretty cool since the logo you design will be permanent. Fang's phone stops working and Mrs. Roberts says to hand it over. This starts a confusing QuickTime event. I wanted to hand over the phone, but because the prompt said to mash X, I ended up holding onto it. And then I got an achievement for doing the opposite of what I wanted to do. No other choice in the game has a QTE like this either, so I think they realized that it was confusing. Everyone goes around the room talking about their plans for after high school. Fang's plan is to take Trish and Reed around Pangea on tour as a band, and we get to choose what the first step is. But no matter what we choose, Fang will speak later as if we selected the van. After class, a nerdy girl named Naomi approaches Fang.
I didn't realize you haven't really made a plan. You never seemed like the kind of person who would go to university.
You may think that these are thinly veiled backhanded insults, but this is actually Naomi trying her best. Fang heads to the music room, and this confusing exchange happens.
Hey! You guys ready?
For what?
For Fang's face to fall off?
What's wrong with your face?
Putting aside the fact that Fang's face looks exactly like it always does, they then follow this up with...
No, dude, you look all glowy, like, good.
Who talks like this? Fang is way more interested in Battle of the Bands than their friends are, who are preoccupied with their own interests. And we actually find out that Fang changed the band's entire sound without consulting the other members.
It's really different.
Really different. Like, is it even worm drama?
And they have just 1 week to learn a new song for the audition. Fang doesn't see a problem with this at all, assuming that their friends have nothing better to do than to practice 24/7. Of course they're both busy, and everyone in their group is getting together on the weekend for L&L. We get invited and don't get to say no, but we can choose an option that will increase Fang's affinity with either Trish or Reed. And now's a good time to bring up the character affinity mechanic. You see, like most visual novels, Volcano High tries to be replayable, but with only one ending and a very linear story, the way they make the playthroughs somewhat different is by including options that will raise your affinity with certain characters, changing the way some scenes play out. In this case, choosing Trish or Reed-centric options will change which one of the two meets Fang on their walk home.
What's up, teacup?
What?
Hey, hey! Jeez, slow down. Your legs are too long.
Hey.
After Trish or Reed leaves, Stella and Sage show up. Stella is a stegosaurus with an interest in tarot cards, and Sage is some kind of small raptor that likes baking.
Here, have a cookie. I made them this morning.
Wow, I really need this right now.
Aw, there's a secret ingredient. It's lavender. Or is it?
Is it?
My first impression of Sage was that he was irritating, but my opinion would later shift once I learned why he acts this way. We pick a card from Stella, and actually get a pretty grounded explanation of tarot cards.
It's not exactly about what's going to happen. It's just something to help you frame events or decisions in a new context. Like a subconscious thing. You project your own meaning onto these things. I don't know your life, and neither do the cards.
At home, Fang reads a note from their mother.
Baba and I are gone to Isla Nubla. Don't eat all the food at once.
We learn that Fang's government name is Fatima. Fang's parents are out of town, and they won't really be seen since it would be more characters to poorly animate. Naomi and Nasser are working on the yearbook in the living room, and Fang decides to sneak past them. I guess because they're too preppy. My name is Nob de Arkness Dementia Raven Fang. The devs must think pretty lowly of us, because in case it wasn't clear that Fang is sneaking, they say so out loud.
Okay, slowly, quietly.
The camera cuts around scenes really abruptly, normally to hide the lack of smooth animations and transitions. Characters often seem to teleport between shots and sometimes during. Fang also reveals that their post-graduation plans are to take the graduation money that their parents saved for their college fund and use it to buy a van that Worm Drama can use to go on tour.
Pretty sure Mom and Dad aren't gonna let you spend that money on a band.
Here it becomes incredibly obvious that Fang isn't thinking realistically about their future, since they seem to be convinced that Reed and Trish will just drop anything they may have planned for after high school to go on a tour that hasn't been booked anywhere, to perform songs that haven't been written yet, and most likely live in a van that Fang said they wanted, even though I specifically selected the EP. Nasser tries to point out the holes in their logic, and Fang gets combative. Naomi de-escalates the situation by getting Fang to play a song, and again we get the option to be rude for no good reason. I really like this song though, it's simple but it's very nice.
And say, we know you're special. And
Later, Fang talks to their friends in a group chat, mostly about Trish's worm, Mango, and Rosa gets added to the chat. Fang is clearly threatened by Trish and Rosa's friendship, and we constantly have to force Fang not to be mean to their friends. Nasser comes in and says that their mom left them prepped meals in the freezer, but the only asset the animators seem to have had is this bucket of instant noodles. We get to pick a spice and a sauce to add to them. No matter what we pick, Nasser will say,
Oof. More sauce. Stat.
and then Fang takes the entire bucket of noodles, leaving Nasser with none. Aw, come on, Fang, he's an athlete. He needs those carbs.
It's not easy being this much of a disappointment.
Not what I meant. It's not like I love how they are with me all the time either.
Whatever. Thanks for dinner.
Fang seems to resent Nasser because they see the praise he gets for being athletic and studious, and doesn't see why they don't get the same praise for being a self-centered, combative shut-in who only cares about being a rock star. Then we hear the big news, as reports that an asteroid is heading to Earth come in.
Designated CO-103, the object shows a rather high possibility of entering the solar system and a non-insignificant chance of collision with the planet.
Reed texts Fang about it, and we find out that people are already making memes. Then the power goes out, and Fang gets a mystery text from an unknown number who confesses that they have feelings for them. Then the power comes back on, and we get this neat sequence where Fang doom scrolls. The next day, Nasser drives Fang to school. He confides in them that he doesn't think his commencement speech is appropriate anymore, since the theme was about making an impact, which is especially funny considering what this game was nominated for. Fang has an option to give him advice.
You're gonna be fine. I mean, no one even listens to those speeches anyway.
Then at school, they meet up with Trish and Reed, and they get a text from LJ. She loves the new sound, and that's bad because it means they have to create more new songs that match the new sound. They all go up on the roof to talk about it, and we learn that Reed is a smoker, though I'm not sure if that's a joint or a cigarette. He's already planning for the worst-case scenario, that the asteroid will kill everyone and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Trish is still on the fence about whether or not they're all doomed, but it's clearly giving her a lot of anxiety about not wasting what little time she may have left.
Right? What if everything we're doing is for nothing?
Fang tries to convince her that the band is the most important thing, but Trish has other ideas.
Or should we throw off the shackles of capitalism and bound into a life of freedom and hedonistic self-indulgence?
And in my opinion, she's right. But Fang still insists that music is the right thing to do, and they have a week to write 3 new songs, so they decide to remix the songs that they've already written. Fang then goes to the assembly, and we get a chance to see what the other students are thinking about the current events. Fang spots Trish and Rosa sitting together and clearly isn't happy about it. Rosa is nice, and again we have to stop Fang from being rude. Nasser gets up and his speech is well received.
Nasser can get it!
That's kind of a weird thing to say in front of your friend about their younger brother, but okay. Fang can talk to Rosa, and we find out that she works at Lava Java, the venue where Battle of the Bands will be held.
I work with LJ. Trust me. I know how picky she can be.
The game will tell you this several times, and every time Fang will react as though it's the first time they've heard it. At band practice, Trish is clearly having anxiety about the asteroid still.
Squish, stuck to the bottom of a rock, like we're just gum or something.
And wondering whether school and the band is even worth doing anymore. Fang completely ignores these concerns to focus on the contest. They seem to genuinely think that winning will mean that none of them have to study or work hard to have a good future. And also that Trish and Reed have nothing better to do than to be supporting characters in Fang's rockstar fantasy. They can't use any of the old songs for the audition, but they also don't have time to write a completely new song. So they decide to remix one of their old ones. This flashback sequence where they go over their options is pretty cool though.
First up, everyone's favorite, Puke Factory. My mother is a robot. Beep, boop. Oh my god, these titles. And last but not least, Get Bent, Jimmy Two-Face.
You can clearly see that they didn't change Reed's model out for a younger one.
Well, what do we think?
We get to choose between 3 songs. Puke Factory, My Mother is a Robot, Beep Boop, or Get Bent, Jimmy Two-Face. Unlike the first song, the song that they play next will sound exactly the same no matter which song we pick. Trish barely has any time to practice, so as a compromise, Fang will use something called a MIDI controller to make it so that Trish's part sounds more complex than it is. We get another rhythm segment, and the song is pretty nice, and the music video sequence is cool.
Was it worth
We get to see them all rehearsing, and we see Trish's little sister. We also see Fang's obvious insecurity over Trish and Rose's friendship continuing to grow. The next day, Fang is listening to the radio, and we see the ghost of Naomi appear to remind Fang about... So they decide to paint their nails. Then an Animal Crossing Beal causes disaster to strike.
No!
There it goes. I guess it had to load. Fang's MIDI controller is covered in nail polish, and they decide to make it worse by grinding the paint into the keyboard with a tissue. Then they head to school. We get to choose Fang's pose for picture day. I didn't realize it was on a timer, so I accidentally ended up with this. But someone on the team messed this up, because if you select the pose where Fang's tongue is sticking out, it breaks their model, and every pose will have things on the wrong layer. Naomi and Fang make a deal that Fang will get Reed to take his school picture, and in return Naomi will fix the MIDI controller. We then have to track down Reed. He's obviously on the roof, but going around to the other rooms gets you some neat conversations with side characters. According to Reed, it's a family tradition to be blank spaces in yearbooks, so Fang agrees to go to all of Reed's L&L sessions so he'll get his photo taken so Naomi can fix the controller. Quick, activate Sasquatch mode. Trish is the last to get her photo taken, which is a good thing, because she snuck in Mango, who sprays noxious slime all over the place. After school, Fang and Naomi meet up to fix the controller, and they have a nice chat where they bond over their interests.
So, why music?
Oh my god, I never even really thought about it, you know? It always just felt like the right thing. Like, I know I'm supposed to talk about how songs helped me find myself or understand the world or something, but...
On the way home, Fang gets another text from their secret admirer, who admits that they sent the first text because they didn't think it would go through during the outage. Trish meets Fang in their front yard, and since the audition is the next day, they do what I can only assume is some kind of good luck ritual that involves burning what I think is a gift card and chanting.
With this sacrifice, we decree worm drama. No harma. Here we spend all our good karma. Worms till the end. Worm drama forever.
This is literally never fully explained. Fang tries on outfits, and it would be nice to actually choose one. And then it's time for the audition. Fang and Reed wait for Trish outside Lava Java, but there's a brief misunderstanding as Trish is waiting for them inside the building. Fang has the option to blow up about this. They head in, and we finally see LJ. She's tough, but fair.
The best thing I can do to support musicians that I believe in is to challenge them, toughen them up, and push them to make their best music.
Though turning off autoplay makes her seem like she's just mean.
So that's not the same song you played last month?
Oh, no, so we changed the hook. So before, it was like, hey, and now it's like, hey. You see how it went up there? It went up at the end.
I wasn't really asking. If I can't tell, that's all you need to know. Next! So that's not the same song you played last month? I wasn't really asking.
Whoa! What was that?
Next!
The song here is pretty good.
This is us.
Worm Drama passes the audition. They're in the competition.
Yeah, okay, get off my stage now. Next!
Next, we get to design a poster. While Fang is hanging up the posters, they meet Stella and Sage. They all talk about how the threat of the looming asteroid is causing people to focus on their goals more. This is actually some pretty good writing, because if you've been paying attention, you might notice that Fang was just as obsessed with winning the contest before anyone even heard about the asteroid. To Fang, adulthood is as scary as global extinction. Mrs. Roberts announces that the deadline for college applications is coming up. Naomi is very excited to go to college and is optimistic that the asteroid won't kill them. Reed is pessimistic that the asteroid will kill them and that there's no point in planning that far ahead. Fang gets to side with one of them, and then Mrs. Roberts explains that they're still in the early detection period and it's very possible that the asteroid won't hit the planet.
Ultimately, we can expect the probability of impact to go down over time.
Which explains why everyone is still going about their business. And she actually gives some really good advice here.
There will always be a reason to avoid difficult tasks. I advise you to desensitize yourself to it.
The older we get, the easier it becomes to look at the world around us and feel like everything is going to shit, that society is going to collapse any day now. It's easy to feel like there's no future, but that doesn't mean we should all just stop trying. If you look at world history, people have been anticipating the apocalypse since ancient times. This is a quote from over 3,000 years ago. Our world is degenerate in these later days. There are signs that the world is speedily coming to an end. Bribery and corruption are common. Children no longer respect their parents, and every man wants to write a book. The end of the world is evidently approaching. This is a thought pattern that has persisted and repeated itself for thousands of years. Mind you, I'm not saying that we shouldn't take current events seriously, just that the end is never as close as it seems like it is, and you should never stop trying. Where was I? They need to write a whole new song, again, and the posters are really important, because the winner of the contest is based on how loud the audience gets, and so they need asses in seats if they're gonna win this thing.
So, did you put up the rest of the posters? 'Cause I can print more.
Unfortunately, Trish has been bringing Mango to school in her backpack, and all her posters are covered in slime. Before we have time to wonder how Trish is attending classes if her backpack is always full of slime...
She's not here! Oh my god, she got out!
Trish goes full panic mode. Of course Fang has the option to be dismissive. We track her down to a trash can, and there's a quick time event to determine whether or not Fang gets slimed. At home, Fang stares at the tarot cards Stella gave them. Tarot cards are like any other deck of playing cards. You need a complete set for it to work. Though if Stella is like me or any of the witchy people I used to hang out with in college, then she totally has more than one deck of tarot cards. Fang texts their secret admirer, and we learn that they're into an anime called Pretty Heroes. This inspires Fang's songwriting, and Nasser interrupts to let Fang know that he had to take down all the posters at school because Lava Java is technically a bar.
Why would you do that?
I had to. Lava Java serves beer after 5. You can't advertise that in a school, Fang.
Fang seems to think that Nasser just chooses to do whatever their parents want him to do, when really he feels trapped by all their expectations and doesn't even know what he really wants because he's never felt like he's allowed to pursue his own genuine interests. Fang doesn't get it.
I am sick of everyone treating me like some spoiled brat.
Well, maybe you should stop acting like one. We never see how their parents treat them, so Fang lashing out like this is bratty as far as anyone can tell. They seem like a rebel without a cause, and that makes them not a very compelling protagonist. Most of the supporting characters are way more interesting. Speaking of, that night is Fang's first L&L session.
I made some last-minute changes to the story. Think it's gonna help get Trish on track for the concert.
It's pretty neat, but it doesn't factor into the story much, so I won't go into too much detail on it. You get to choose whether you'll explore a crystal cave or a library that's also a giant floating talking nautilus in the sky. And smaller choices that you make will affect your affinity with your party members. Either way, at the end you'll fight Kef, a villain who Rosa is attracted to. Or he just inexplicably shows up on the airship after you get back from the library. Here you can turn him into a frog. Cool.
So cute!
Kef the Immortal, Lord of the Cult of Final Days, has been turned into a frog.
For a short term.
Yes, for a short term. Kef glares at you with his new amphibian eyes. You have never seen a more evil-looking toad. Then, without warning or pause, he leaps off the side of the airship, vanishing.
The next day, there's an assembly for college preparation. Fang gets the option to ask a question, and all of them are rude. After the presentation, we cut to everyone hanging out in a field. Sage wonders if they'll all still be friends after high school, and is nervous about culinary school. Stella plans to take a year off after high school to figure out what she wants to do in college. Reed isn't really planning on surviving the meteor, but if he does, he wants to learn about creative writing and game design. Trish decides on getting a degree in entomology, and Fang somehow doesn't take this as a hint that their dream tour isn't happening. On the way back, depending on how you respond to Sage, he could meet up with Fang. This conversation, in my opinion, is some of the best character development in the game.
Sometimes it feels like no one takes me seriously. I know, I don't make it easy for them. When I told my family I wanted to transition, they took it hard. They were accepting, but super uncomfortable.
As a trans person myself, I really felt seen and understood by whoever wrote this part, and it made me completely change my opinion of Sage. He's now my favorite character. Though it does come from seemingly out of nowhere and is based on a single decision, so even when the writing is good in my opinion, it's still pretty messy. Later, Fang considers college brochures but can't handle it. Their secret admirers, now listed in their contacts as Pretty Hero, they text them and cheer Fang up by telling them that the Battle of the Bands basically is their college application, because it determines whether they'll be able to go pro as a musician. They also reveal that they're into fashion and sends a picture of a cosplay they're working on. The next day, Trish is really excited about the college she chose. Fang is more concerned about the band, as usual, and Reed actually sides with Fang, because at least they know the battle is actually gonna happen.
Oh, not you too.
I heard just this morning that even if it does hit, it'll probably land in the ocean.
Trish completely believes that the asteroid isn't going to kill them. They start working on the set list, and Rosa comes in.
Trish! Trish, it's happening!
Something is happening on the roof. Everyone heads up, and it turns out that Rosa crossbred a new type of fern that bugs refuse to eat.
So, take that rootstock and add a vulnerable planty scion, and boom! Bug-proof leaves, baby!
So if she could apply that to the agriculture industry, she's created something really revolutionary and would be set for life if death wasn't imminent. Then they do this weird thing where they all talk like Silent Hill characters.
Ah! Ah! Mango fern!
Mango fern!
Nice.
That night, it's the second L&L session, but before it starts, Trish breaks the news to Reed and Fang that she needs to take a break from the band to focus on pre-college work.
I think I need a break from the band. For a while. The Battle of the Bands is going to be my last show.
Fang is shocked by this, despite the fact that everyone else could tell this was going to happen. Even Nasser knew this was going to happen. Before they get a chance to really talk about it, the rest of the group shows up and the game starts. This time we get to choose whether to go to a temple in a desert, which will improve our affinity with Naomi, or to go to a cursed swamp that improves your affinity with Rosa. At the end, Reed describes a fiery cataclysm raining down from above, so he's clearly trying to work through his feelings about the asteroid through the game. L&L is a coping mechanism for him, just like music is for Fang.
Things are reaching their conclusion. Time's almost up.
Everyone goes their separate ways. At home, Fang looks over the college brochures again, possibly considering a plan B now that Trish is leaving. And we get a really cool shot of Nasser dusting off all of his trophies. Like he's wondering if any of them were actually worth it. Stella and Sage distract themselves with cooking. Rosa works on her botany projects during downtime at her job. Trish is working to develop a new substrate for Mango. Reed continues leaning into L&L to cope. And Naomi is making Pretty Hero cosplay, making her Fang's secret admirer. That explains all those awkward moments at the beginning, but she wants to be a doctor, an engineer, and a fashion designer? Apparently she's doing everything. The next day, Nasser helps Fang deal with pre-show anxiety. You're supposed to hold each button, but it's funny if you mash them. Fang gets the option to finally apologize to Nasser, and then tries to have a non-awkward walk to school with Trish. We get to plan out what Fang wants to say. There are selfish options and supportive options, but it doesn't really matter because Rosa ends up walking with them, unknowingly making the conversation awkward. Trish then makes this metaphor.
Chop a worm in half and you get 2 worms. I mean, that's us!
Which, for a lot of worms, is correct, but for the basic earthworms that you see outside after it rains, they just die, so do not cut them in half. You will not double the worm. This has been a PSA. That night we see that they actually did have a model of Fang wearing pajamas, yet they decided to animate them sleeping in their skinny jeaned and spiked headbands earlier. I don't know why, probably just to annoy me. In the morning, Fang and Nasser's parents call on prehistoric Skype. They say that they're coming home ahead of time because of the asteroid. It's hard to get an impression of their personalities from how short the call is, but it seems like their mom is cold and aloof, while their dad is more laid back.
Interesting. I never had a talent for music. I tried in college, you know.
I remember. Unfortunately for me. So, what? You win money or something?
I wish we could see more of how they function as a family because it would add context to Fang and Nasser's behavior. They really should have cut the L&L segment for more character-driven scenes because those are where the game is at its best. And I say this as someone who likes the L&L segments. That night, everyone in the main cast is at Lava Java for the battle. Backstage, we finally meet Swamp Babies. the big established band that Worm Drama is competing with. Trish is really combative with them, despite the fact that they aren't even being that mean.
Teens?
Teens?
We are in fact teens, Trish.
They even offered to let Fang do backup vocals on their new tracks, which for a musician just starting out would be a huge opportunity. The competition begins, and when Swamp Babies go on stage, the blackouts start. This is where the game really breaks if you have autoplay turned off. When you get to the Battle of the Bands, something will go wrong. I experienced a bug where the game skipped an entire song. What? Okay. What am I doing? What am I doing? The lights go out again, and Fang is supposed to go on stage and do an acoustic song, but in my playthrough it just skipped to the second one. And in fellow YouTuber Ariel's Adventures playthrough, this bug happened where both songs played at the same time. This is madness. But if you have autoplay turned on, it should function normally.
I hardly need to say anything, do I? I give you our winners of the Battle of the Bands.
So, Worm Drama wins, Fang still thinks the tour is happening, and Trish has to spell it out in no uncertain terms that it isn't.
I wish I had more time for entomology, to hang out with Rosa, to play L&L. There's so much more I want to do.
Trish makes a lot of good points, and Reed is uncomfortable. Everyone goes their separate ways, and Fang meets their other friends at the table, and this glitch happens. Fang gets a text to meet Naomi outside, and they're really surprised by Naomi being their secret admirer. Though after the fight they had with Trish, they can't really deal with this right now. Naomi says that's okay.
It's fine. I'm used to waiting for you.
Nasser offers Fang a ride home, only for the lights to go out again, and now the sky is all lit up, signaling that the asteroid is going to hit them. We cut to another music video segment, and we see that the school is now finally abandoned, so clearly the realization that they're all doomed has finally sunken in. But we never really get to see it dawn on anyone. Naomi is holding some kind of meeting in the auditorium. Maybe these are all the people who are still in denial? The Going Away song is incredibly repetitive, and we cut to Reed and Fang on the roof. Even if you have autoplay turned off, this scene will play out as if it's on. Reed says their L&L story is dead because it's hard enough to coordinate a setup when it isn't the end times. And, oh, okay, we're still in the music video segment. Then Fang meets LJ, who says what we've all been thinking for the past several hours.
Your friends wanted different things. You should have known that.
Fang considers going on tour solo, but LJ hits them with a reality check.
It's about community. Nothing's worth doing till the end of all things if you don't have people to share it with.
Fang then decides to reconnect with Trish, and god damn, how long is this song gonna go on for? Okay, it's done. Fang sends a message to the group chat to get the L&L group together for one last game. I feel so bad for the people who hated the L&L segments because they must have been relieved when Reed said it was dead, only to be hit with this at the end of the song. We then jump right into the last L&L session. Reed brings out the final boss, and there's a fun twist where Nasser gets added to the game. They defeat the final boss, but also get sucked up into the portal he came through, killing them all but saving the world. Clearly this is Reed trying to cope with the fact that they're all going to die, and of course Fang doesn't understand.
What the hell?
There's this great moment where you can see the devs didn't animate Nasser sitting, so he's been standing the whole time. And also every character leaves by sliding horizontally out of the frame. It's pretty good. We cut to Fang alone on the beach from the start of the game, and we get to pick the lyrics to a song again, but they all sound bad this time. Fang, like Reed, is having a hard time being creative. So they send another group text to meet up at the fire pit, and they include a selfie? Do people actually communicate like this? Everyone shows up one by one until they're all sitting around the fire like in the intro to Final Fantasy X. Fang gets a text from LJ letting them know that the concert they worked so hard to win a spot in is being cancelled because it's too difficult to organize with the apocalypse and all the power outages. Fang takes the news really well. I guess they decided to have all their character development right at this moment. Fang says,
"Who needs the future when you have all your friends in the present, right?"
Seriously?
And this really sets off Naomi, who has been in denial for the entire game. She spent her entire life planning and studying for a future that's being taken away. She unfortunately chooses to lash out verbally at everyone.
Maybe for you guys, but some of us had plans for the future.
What, you think you're the only one? Sage isn't gonna get to be a chef, Fang isn't getting Caldera Fest.
Yeah, but what about you? Were you planning on letting the cards choose a career for you?
You need to cool down.
Fine, whatever. Now that your dream is canceled, I guess we should all just accept our fates.
Oh, fuck off, Naomi.
This reaches a head when Fang tells Naomi to fuck off, which I have to say doesn't feel completely unwarranted if someone's behaving like this, and then everybody goes off to sulk. And in a decision that seems to be a shallow way to add replay value to the game, it limits who Fang is allowed to talk to only characters that Fang has a high enough affinity with. This isn't a bad idea in theory, but the game is really vague as to which choices will bring you closer to which character. In the scene with Naomi, you get to choose whether or not she'll become Fang's girlfriend.
I need to know what this is, Fang. Us.
And then everyone huddles around the fire again. Fang stands up and declares that they should all put on their own concert so they can really go out with a bang. Did Fang learn anything? Because the story needs to end, everyone just goes along with it, and Rosa flat out lampshades this fact with this line.
Can't roll the end credits without a closing track, right?
And then we end up back at the start of the game, where Fang and Naomi decide to burn the yearbook for the pre-show ritual. But the way Fang drops it, it should land at their feet instead of in the bonfire, unless they're standing in the fire. Everyone spends the next 2 days setting up the show. Depending on whether or not we decide to date Naomi, we'll either see her and Fang go on a picnic where she reveals a custom anime-inspired outfit that she made for Fang that we can choose to wear for the ending. Or we'll see Naomi, Fang, and Nasser have a movie night and a sleepover. Either way, in the morning, Fang and Nasser get terrible news.
My parents aren't coming home, and planes aren't flying. And I might never see them again.
This comes out of nowhere at the last minute. They could have done a better job setting this moment up. Ariel's Adventures made a really good point about it, saying, "That's why I wish they had mentioned more about where the parents were. They show that cars are still working, and boats may be as well. Having the parents try other avenues with each one failing and then trying to fly and walk there out of desperation would have made for a much more compelling moment." Reed and Trish comfort each other and spend one last night hanging out, with sparklers. It's pretty wholesome. There's also this great part where Fang is falling and nobody helps. The next day it's concert time. Reed and Trish show up in a van with a cool wizard on the side. And it's time for the end. We get another crowd shot where we can examine each character to see what their thoughts are. Fang shows up in one of two costumes. And, despite the fact that the asteroid that has been interfering with electronics for the entire game is now closer than it's ever been, they're still able to call their mom, and the concert is being streamed online. I guess Naomi is a tech wizard. Fang gets their blessings from everyone, and the last rhythm segment starts. It's pretty good, and we get a really touching montage. Miss Roberts apparently had an entire character arc off-screen, and the game just ends. I'm really conflicted. There's so much potential for a good story here, and I just get the feeling that between all the bugs and the strange writing choices, the developers just didn't have the time or the skill to create a real masterpiece. That being said, I really like all the characters, besides Fang. I think the LBGT representation aspect of the game is also really good. For most characters, it's just a background detail, and in reality, I think that's how it should be treated. So it might actually go over people's heads how few straight cis characters there are in the main cast. So, in conclusion, Goodbye Volcano High could have really been a great narrative experience. It fell short due to a lot of setbacks. But it isn't completely awful, and I actually like it. Thank you for watching to this point if you have. If you liked or hated this video, let me know by clicking the thumbs, and feel free to leave a comment telling me what you think of the game. Special thanks to Ariel's Adventures for letting me use footage of the crazy bug they ran into. Check out their channel, they do good commentary. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.